that, welcome back to another episode of Chat About That. I'm your host, Bella, and in this episode, I'm going to be chatting all about Vice President-Elect Kamala Harris. So I want to get right into this topic today because it's very exciting. We have our first female Vice President-Elect, Kamala Harris. And if you don't follow U.S. news because you don't live in the U.S. or you've been living under a rock or you just don't pay attention at all, the presidential election has been the biggest topic of conversation, a biggest topic of the news for a very long time in the United States. And we have president and vice president-elects right now, which means they are not in office. The presidential election has not been officially called, but it is very clear based on all of the other factors that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris will be the president and vice president. I'm not going to go into the whole ballots and the vote-in mailing and all of that in this episode, but Joe Biden and Kamala Harris will be the president and vice president, which I'm very excited about. If you don't follow me over on social media or you don't know me in person, I voted for Kamala and Joe Biden, and I support them, and I'm incredibly excited about this, not just because I really want a new president, but because we have our first female vice president. And there have been a lot of influential female leaders, not just in politics, but in a lot of different areas in the United States. And Kamala is not the first female to make such a big impact in American history, but this is an incredible feat in American history. And I am so happy that we finally have a female vice president. I mean, Joe Biden will be the 46th president, and the fact that it took this long for us to have a female in the vice president spot, not just, there have been other females who have run for president, obviously, and vice president, but she is the first female to be elected as vice president. And this is so incredible. And I have a theory, and I don't want to go into my theories just yet, but I have a theory that in 4 years she will run for president. And I'm really hoping that we can vote her in as president, because this is just so incredibly exciting. So I want to talk a little bit later about the future of Kamala, but I want to spend most of this podcast talking about the history of Kamala and who she is and some fun facts about her. So she was born on October 20th, 1964, which makes her a Libra, in case anybody cares about zodiac signs as much as I do. And she is a politician and attorney. She was actually born in Oakland, California, and she graduated from Howard University. And she also was friends with Chadwick Boseman. I don't believe that they went to Howard at the same time, but they did know each other from being in the same circle with Howard University. She also went to the University of California and Hastings College of Law. She actually started off her career as a district attorney. And her family, they were a little bit skeptical at first of her career choices, but she acknowledged that prosecutors have, earned a bad reputation, but she really wanted to help change this system and help make the justice system better, and proving that she could face these injustices and help bring out change. I think that's really important. So she was a district attorney in a couple of different areas and counties in California. And in 2003, she was elected the district attorney of San Francisco. And then she was elected later in 2010, the attorney general of California, and then reelected again in 2014. And she served as a junior United States senator in California since 2017. So that's just a little bit of a background on her career as an attorney. And then in 2016, she won the Senate election, and she actually was the second African-American woman and the first South Asian American to serve on the United States Senate. So not only is she the first female vice president-elect, but she also made history as being the second African-American woman on the United States Senate and the first South Asian American to serve in the Senate. So she's broken so many barriers down for so many people already and shown that she is this role model and this person to look up to. And this is not just for people that are interested in politics or law careers. This is anybody. And I will read a little bit of her speech later on in the podcast because she said some really inspiring words, and I'll get into that a little bit later. And then, of course, she ran with Joe Biden for the 2020 race, and they are now the president and vice president-elect for 2020, which is incredibly amazing. And obviously, I'm very excited about this because I've already stated so many times, and I will continue for the rest of this episode. So that's just a little bit of her background in politics and in law. I want to talk a little bit about her early life and her family. So like I said earlier, she was born in Oakland, California. Her mother was a biologist and her father was a Stanford professor. And her mother is of Indian descent and her father is Jamaican. So she is mixed race. And, like I just said, she has already proven to break so many barriers with diversity. And her passion for fighting injustice actually was inspired by her mother, who is an Indian American immigrant. She's an activist and she's also a breast cancer survivor. So, her own life experiences and her family's life experiences have really been the driving force behind her fighting injustices. And she has a younger sister named Maya, and she's a public policy advocate. And while she was a district attorney, some of the cases that she prosecuted were cases on gang violence, drug trafficking, and sexual abuse. So there are a lot of different issues that she's dealt with, and as the vice president, I think she's just going to have a lot of really good insights on different social issues. And she also refused to defend Proposition 8, which bans same-sex marriage in California, and she helped overturn that in 2013. So again, she does a lot of really good work for helping fight injustices, and I love that. And if you listen to my other episodes, I did an episode on Black Lives Matter and Trans Lives Matter, and obviously these types of issues are very important to me. Civil rights and basic human rights are so important to me, and I think that everybody needs to be an advocate for that. And the fact that she has been fighting injustices throughout her entire career, I just see such great things in our future as a country. And when she was young, her parents actually took her to protests. So she's been exposed to politics and protests from a young age. And I believe that this passion for fighting injustices really came from her parents and from the fact that her parents bonded over their passion for the civil rights movement and being activists themselves. And when she was younger, she also went to Black Baptist churches and Hindu temples. So she's had exposure to a lot of different religions. I think she seems like a really cultured person, and it seems like she has a lot of insights into different backgrounds, and I think that she can advocate for a lot of different people, not just women, not just people of color, but people from all different types of backgrounds. I think she's somebody who is going to see issues and going to see how we can solve those issues from a different lens. Every other president besides Barack Obama have been a white male, and now we're going to have a woman of color in office as the vice president, and there's just so much good that she can do. And going back to that, seeing from a different lens, I think, I'm not lumping Obama into this when I say all of this, because he obviously sees the world through this type of lens as well. But I think, when you're a minority, you view the world and the world's problems differently. And I think a lot of presidents haven't had to, not that the other presidents haven't cared, or not that majority of the other presidents haven't cared about civil rights issues, but I think when you are someone who these issues and these, problems and these injustices are actually affecting, you're gonna look at it through a different lens, and you're going to think of different solutions to solve these problems. So I think that she is going to be very influential in making a lot of different decisions for our country. And I want to read a few quotes from the victory speech that she gave when they were announced president and vice president-elect, because there were just some really great quotes that she had, and I watched that victory speech, and I will continue to watch any type of speech or any type of press conferences that she is going to be giving, because this is historic. Whether you voted for Joe Biden or not, whether you are a Democrat, Republican, whatever your views are, even if you're not American either and you don't care about this is a historic moment in American history. The fact that we have a female vice president. And there have been a lot of other women who have been very close to being vice president and president, but the fact that we have finally elected a female in the White House as the vice president it's amazing. I can't even fathom I can't even fathom it. And again, even if you don't like her, support her, this is so important. If you are alive right now, you need to remember all of this. You need to pay attention to this. You need to be present right now, because I sincerely believe that real change is going to happen. And I know the past 4 years have been really hard, and I'm not going to get super political. I know this whole episode is about politics, but I'm not going to get into my political views and such. But the past 4 years have been hard. And the past couple of months have been really hard. The past almost year, I think the coronavirus started to get pretty bad in around November, December last year. And things have been hard, but I think a lot of change has already happened in the past 10 years. But there's so much more that needs to happen, and I think that is going to happen with this new administration. So I'm getting off my little soapbox right now, and I want to read a couple of the quotes that she said in this speech because they were so powerful. She said, "And to the woman most responsible for my presence here today, my mother, who is always in our hearts. She came here from India at the age of 19. Maybe she didn't quite imagine this moment. But she believed so deeply, and in America, where a moment like this is possible. So I'm thinking about her, about the generations of women, Black women, Asian, white, Latina, and Native American women throughout our nation's history who have paved the way for this moment tonight." Again, this just really reiterates what I'm saying, that this is such a big moment. And I think for her to be the first female vice president is really important, because even if Hillary Clinton had been elected, yes, that would have been a huge feat. That would have been a huge moment in American history for a female president. But I think the fact that the first female vice president is a woman of color and somebody who has such an interesting background and an interesting life perspective, it gives her that much more of like an edge. She also said, "Women who fought and sacrificed so much for equality, liberty, and justice for all, including the Black women, who are too often overlooked, but so often prove that they are the backbone of our democracy." I fully agree with that statement. I'm just going to read a couple of other quotes because there's so many beautiful, beautiful quotes. And this part is a bit long, but I really want to read this because this is the part that really stuck with me. "But while I may be the first woman in this office, I won't be the last, because every little girl watching tonight sees that this is a country of possibilities. And to the children of our country, regardless of your gender, our country has sent you a clear message. Dream with ambition, lead with conviction, and see yourself in a way that others might not see you, simply because they've never seen it before. And we will applaud you every step of the way." I mean, could that be any more powerful? I just think everything that I was saying about her and everything that I'm saying about this being such a historic moment is reiterated in that statement. I could have just read this whole speech and that could have just been the podcast, but I will link her speech. I will link her speech in the description as well, so you can read it or watch it. I'll probably link the video because I think it's a bit more powerful to actually watch the speech than just reading it out loud. And if you watched that speech, you will notice how well-spoken she is. I think a lot of people do not know how to speak clearly and speak well in front of a crowd. Now, I am somebody who personally thinks that public speaking is one of the most important skills somebody can have, and I would like to do an episode on public speaking and some tips because I personally think that I am a very good public speaker. I've been told this by many people, but this also stems from the fact that I am a performer. I am a musician. I learned how to play guitar and sing from a young age, and I've been, on stage doing solo performances, doing choir performances, group performances, for a very long time. So public speaking, getting up in front of a crowd and presenting myself to others is not hard for me. But again, a little bit of a tangent. But when you watch her speak, she commands the attention. If you watch that speech and you can watch it back, everyone in that audience was paying attention to her. You know, sometimes when people speak, they don't command the audience. They're up there, they're speaking, but they're not engaging. They're not interesting to watch. She is very interesting to watch, and she commands your attention. Now, some other politicians are very hard to watch. They're very hard to listen to. Their voices are very annoying. They mumble on, they don't make any sense, and she is so well spoken. And I'm actually looking forward to watching her speeches and listening to her talk, because I can't really say that about a lot of politicians. I'm not very I would rather read an article about something that a politician said than watch, because most of the time they're not very good speakers, and it can be kind of boring. Politics can be boring, but I think she will, and she does, command people's attention, and I think more people are gonna be tuning in to watch what she has to say. I'm really hoping that with this new administration, social justice issues, basic human rights issues are going to be at the forefront. Obviously, the number one priority right now, and I agree with this, is the coronavirus and helping to stop the spread, helping to get vaccines, and helping to get not just America, but every country better, and every country able to, go back to living their normal lives. That is definitely at the forefront of Joe Biden's campaign, but I think that's very important. And, there's so many things going on, and I'm not just gonna say because of Donald Trump that these have been issues long before he was elected, but there are so many civil rights issues and just basic human rights issues in the United States. I'm just talking about the US right now, but that are, not being really thought of in politics. And, there are a lot of states that have their own specific rules about things. And I think the Supreme Court decision to allow gay marriage is, that was huge. And that is such a big feat. But we still got a long way to go with trans rights, with, minorities' rights, with immigration. And there's just so many things that I think Kamala and Joe Biden are going to really help with. And I'm hopeful that these issues and just basic human rights are being thought of in this new administration. And I think that especially with her background and the fact that she's been fighting injustices her whole career, she's not going to stop now. Just because she's in the White House, she's not going to stop now. She's going to do everything that she can to keep fighting for injustices. Before I end this episode, I know it was a little bit short, but I want to mention a couple of other fun facts about her that aren't really political related. They're just interesting facts about her. I'll include a couple of articles in my episode description. I'm reading a couple of different things from, just interesting facts about her and just some about pages. So if you're interested in reading more about her than I'm talking about in this episode, I will link all of these in my description. She is very interested in cooking, which I didn't know, and she has tried almost all of the recipes from Alice Waters' The Art of Simple Food book, which is very interesting. And her go-to dinner entree is roast chicken, which honestly, that sounds amazing, and I would love to go to her house and try roast chicken, but I will never get that opportunity, which is totally fine. And she's very interested in reading as well, and some of her favorite books are Native Son, The Kite Runner, which I've read before, The Joy Luck Club, The Song of Solomon, and The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, which I've also read. So I've read 2 of her favorite books, which is pretty cool. She wakes up around 6 a.m., which is good for you, honey. I'm definitely not gonna wake up at 6 a.m. every day. And she also loves to drink tea with honey and lemon, which is such a great way to start your morning. Tea is one of my favorite things, and putting green tea with honey and lemon is like the best thing ever anyway. But she describes herself as a tough boss, which I love. I think the word boss has been reclaimed, and boss doesn't just mean like your boss, like your coworker or whatever. It means like, you're taking charge of everything that you do in your life, which I love. She does not like being called the female Obama, and she says, I have my own legacy, which, damn, go girl, come on. Like, I mean, Yeah, she has her own legacy. She's not the female Obama. She's Kamala Harris. She has her own legacy. Like, come on, dude. And the last thing that I want to say is her motto, which comes from her mother. And this says, "You may be the first, but make sure you're not the last," which I love. So that is everything for this episode. I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit more about Kamala Harris. And, just, I think the world is changing, and this is such an important step. And I hope that this podcast has inspired you to, learn a little bit more about her and just looking into some of the history of female leaders in our country. And I hope that this episode has also helped you reflect on what issues in America are you passionate about? Like I said, I'm really passionate about civil rights and basic human rights. And what kinds of things are you passionate about? What kinds of issues are you hoping get more attention? And what kind of change are you looking for in America? I hope that you can reflect on that. Again, please check out the links in the description below. There are going to be some fun facts about Kamala Harris and also her victory speech. It's very powerful. If you haven't seen it, please watch it. If you've already seen it, please watch it. It's absolutely incredible. It's much more powerful than me reading quotes from it. And you can see what I mean when she gives those speeches, how she commands the room, how she's just such a good public speaker. And I think that speech is really not just a testament to her abilities as a public speaker, but just in general. I think if you're somebody who's looking to be a better public speaker, I think you could learn from her and just watching her speeches. I think that could help you. So that's everything for this episode. As always, stay safe, stay classy, and I'll chat again with you soon. Goodbye.